Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. We are diving right into the 158th running of the Belmont Stakes. The final leg of the Triple Crown is officially upon us, and the 2026 edition, well, it's shaping up to be one of the most fascinating and unpredictable races in recent memory. We aren't just going to look at who's running today. We're going to completely decode this field using hard data, historical trends, and insights from one of the most accurate handicappers in the entire sport. So if you want to know how to separate the true contenders from the pretenders, you are in the right place.
But before we even look at the horses, I need you to lock the number 11 into your brain because it honestly holds the key to unlocking this entire race.
Here's why. 11 of the last 12 Belmont Stakes winners already had a graded stakes victory under their belt. That is a massive historical trend. It tells us that to win the test of the champion, a horse needs to have already proven themselves in elite company. You just don't figure it out on Belmont Day. Now, let's immediately apply this to this year's field. Take the second favorite on the morning line, Chief Wallaby. He's sitting at 3-1 odds. But guess what? He lacks this exact qualification. He's literally 0 for 3 in graded stakes attempts. Right out the date, our data is telling us to be incredibly careful with a horse the general public is probably going to be betting heavily on. Moving into Section 1, the 2026 setup, a new battlefield. Because Belmont Park is undergoing major renovations right now, the race has been moved to Saratoga Race Course. And guys, this changes the whole shebang. The traditional Belmont Park setup is a grueling 1.5 miles. It's a true marathon. But the temporary 2026 Saratoga setup, it's been shortened to 1.25 miles, the exact same distance as the Kentucky Derby. This dramatically alters the race dynamics. If we look at the last two Belmonts run at Saratoga, they heavily favored horses that were close to or just off the pace of the frontrunners. The track bias here favors early speed. It is really tough for deep closers who like to sit way back and make one late run. Keep that tactical shift in your back pocket because it's going to spell disaster for one of the biggest names in this field. Which brings us to Section 2. Meet the expert, Jody Demling. To truly decode this field, we're relying on the historical data of elite horse racing expert Jody Demling. Why should we listen to his picks? Let's start with the number 4. Demling has correctly predicted the winner in 4 of the last 8 Belmont Stakes. I mean, think about how difficult it is to predict a horse race with these massive fields, changing conditions, and unpredictable animals. Hitting 50% of your Belmont winners over nearly a decade is just absurdly impressive. He even hit the exact order finish, the exacta, back in 2022 with Mo Donegal and Nest. This proves he's got a specific, undeniable expertise when it comes to this exact race. Still need more convincing? How about another number 11? Demling has successfully called 11 Preakness winners out of the last 22 races. Again, a staggering 50% hit rate over more than 2 decades for the second jewel of the Triple Crown. And just to put the icing on the cake, quoting his track record from just last year, Demling hit the top 3 finishers in the 2025 Kentucky Derby in the correct order. That's the trifecta, folks. When Jody Demling speaks about Triple Crown betting, his track record absolutely demands our attention. So, what is his data telling him about the 2026 Belmont? Let's get into Section 3. The expert's call, fading Golden Tempo. Demling points out this fascinating rule of rest for Golden Tempo. Look at how he performs based on his time off. When he has 6 weeks of rest, like he did before Churchill Downs, boom, he wins the Kentucky Derby. But when he has under 6 weeks of rest, he has 2 third-place finishes in his last 2 attempts. He didn't even run a runner-up, he finished 3rd. Going into this Belmont Stakes, because he skipped the Preakness, Golden Tempo is only going to have 5 weeks of rest. Historically, he is incredibly vulnerable on this timeline. Plus, you have to consider the tactical mismatch here. Golden Tempo's style makes him a classic last-to-first deep closer. He desperately needs someone else to set a blistering pace so he can pass exhausted horses at the very end. But remember what we just said about Saratoga? Its recent history heavily favors horses that stay close to the pace early on. The setup is a massive tactical disadvantage for Golden Tempo. The analytical case against the Derby winner is pretty much rock solid. All right, Section 4, the 2026 odds leaderboard. Let's see who we should be backing. Taking a quick look at the morning line odds for our 9-horse field, we have Renegade coming in as the heavy favorite at 2-1, then Chief Wallaby at 3-1, and Golden Tempo sitting at 9-2. From there, we hit the middle of the pack with Commandment and Emerging Market both at 6-1. We've got Growth Equity and Power Shift at 12-1, Ottino at 20-1, and finally, bringing up the rear, our longest shot on the board is Vitruvian Man at 30-1. Now that we know the landscape, let's really analyze these contenders.
Moving to Section 5, Analyzing the Favorites.
First up is Renegade at 2-1. Look, there is a very good reason he's the heavy favorite. Check out this resume. He is a Grade 1 Arkansas Derby winner. In the Kentucky Derby, he finished second by a mere neck. But here's the crazy part. He did that despite drawing the dreaded number 1 post position, which is notoriously awful at the Derby. He was totally squeezed at the rail and still almost pulled off the win. Now, in the Belmont, he benefits from a much smaller 9-horse field, meaning way less traffic to navigate. He's incredibly dangerous.
Then we have Chief Wallaby at 3-1. We've got a real bull and bear case for this one. The positives? He finished 4th in the Kentucky Derby, and his supporters will be quick to point out he had major traffic issues down the stretch that really messed up his closing kick. He also skipped the Preakness, so he's fresh. But the negative is glaring, bringing us right back to our very first slide. He has 0 graded stakes wins in 3 attempts. Are you really willing to take short 3-1 odds on a horse that has never won at this level? The historical data strongly says no.
Okay, Section 6, Digging for Value, Intriguing Long Shots. This is where things get really fun. There's a totally fascinating case to be made for Emerging Market at 6-1. He is a massive value play. He won the Louisiana Derby, proving he's got class, but a lot of people are sleeping on him because he finished a disappointing 10th in the Kentucky Derby. Well, it turns out it was discovered after the race that he literally lost a shoe during the run. That is a completely valid excuse to throw out that bad performance. Furthermore, he has a stalking running style, meaning he likes to sit just behind the leaders, which perfectly fits that Saratoga track bias we talked about. Oh, and he's already beaten Golden Tempo in a previous race. At 6-1, the value here is just incredible. And how about some pop culture flair for a second? Vitruvian Man is the longest shot on the board at 30-1, but he brings some very famous connections. He's owned by Run Fast Racing, an ownership group that includes legendary rappers Lil Wayne and Lil Yachty. But aside from the star power, strictly from a racing perspective, he is fresh off a long 2-month layoff. If you believe he's just a late-blooming colt who needed a little extra time to find his stride, those fresh legs could make him a really fascinating wild card. We also have to mention Growth Equity at 12-1. This is a very dangerous newcomer. He bypassed the entire grueling Triple Crown trail, opting to make his stakes debut by winning the Peter Pan Stakes by 2 lengths. He is a rapidly improving frontrunner, and as we've established, frontrunners do very well at Saratoga. If no one else pushes the pace early, Growth Equity could easily get to the front, control the tempo, and steal this race wire to wire.
So we've broken down the track bias, we've made the case to fade the Derby winner, and we've analyzed where the real value is on the board. But that leaves us with one final, very provocative question. Out of all these options, which epic double-digit long shot is Jody Demling actually backing? The data has led our expert to absolutely fall in love with a specific, massive underdog backed by a legendary trainer. He's actually using this horse to anchor his entire Belmont card. Who is it? Well, to find out, you'll have to dig into Demling's full projected leaderboard. But I will leave you with this. In a year where the venue is new, the distance is shorter, and the Derby winner is tired, the stage is perfectly set for a shocking upset. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, everyone, and enjoy the test of the champion.